All right, we're gonna give this a shot and see how it does. I mean, talking while washing your car is not a new concept. I think Matt has solidified that. But, you know, so many times I'm out here washing the cars, and it's like, I think about all the things I want to talk about in the video, and it's like, it really does just kind of make sense to just talk about it while I'm washing the car. But, so yeah, we didn't get the Jeep. And like I said, I've dealt with a lot of shady car deals in the past, car dealerships, car salesmen. We came to a deal, and I told him, you know, because for those of you who don't know, I'm self-employed, and I've only been self-employed for a few years, and this is the first time I'm looking to go buy a car while self-employed. So I knew going in, like, all right, it's probably going to be a little bit more tricky. On top of that, I'm looking at buying a car that's, you know, 20 plus years old, and it's really hard to value and such. So I told him, I was like, you know, I want to finance through my credit union, which is GE. They're probably going to give a little pushback on that. And by pushback, I mean they're probably going to deny it. But once they do that, let me know. I'll talk to them, explain everything, and we should be good to go then. Because because before I was unemployed, but when I started the business, you know, anytime something ran into a GE, you know, they were like, oh, okay, you know. So like they've been willing to work in the past or whatever. I was like, you know, it may take a couple hours, but we'll get it done. He said, okay. He's like, well, our finance is a little backed up, so why don't you guys like go get some lunch or something or do whatever, and I'll call you guys when stuff's done. It's like, great, that works out great. We need to go get the pups and do some stuff with them and get some lunch. Perfect. So he calls us, I think he was doing most of this over text. He texts and he's like, yeah, you know, they denied the loan. I was like, okay, no problem. I was like, give me a bit. I'm gonna call GE. So I call GE. I give them the details of what's going on, you know, what I'm doing and stuff. And they were like, okay, it's gonna take us a few hours, but we should be able to get this done. It took exactly 4 hours. And what's funny is I asked GE, I was like, well, how long do you think it'll take? And the girl was like, you know, to be honest, I'm just completely 100% guessing, but I'm gonna say about 4 hours. So I told the car salesman that. I was like, you know, she's kind of just guessing, but she said about 4 hours. And he's like, okay, that's fine. Literally like 4 hours to almost a minute, they were done. The car salesman, he texts us, he's like, hey, GE got back to us. Everything's good to go. It's like, cool. And for those of you wondering, basically what it came down to is, you know, GE wasn't valuing that vehicle for as much as we were paying for it. That, given with the self-employment and stuff, they wanted a down payment, which they've never wanted before, but I was like, that's fine. So I was like, no problem. They wanted $5,000 down so that we would be financing, because the deal we came to was 14.7, I believe, was the exact number. We wrote it down. You know, they like to do the whole like sign this type thing. So we did that. And so I was like, okay. I was like, all right, well, you know, he texted my wife and she's like, okay, great. You know, it's good. So we'll be up there. We don't live far away. We'll be there in like 20 minutes. And he texts back real quick. He's like, well, hold on. Somebody's in the car. She's like, what do you mean like somebody's in the car or whatever? He's like, yeah. Boys, hey, boys, you want to take a little chill? We're like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, somebody's driving it, so they might buy it. I'll have to see. And he texts back like 20 minutes later, yeah, they're going to buy it, so sorry. And it's like, what in the world have I been doing for the last few hours? I've not, you know, and it irks me to no end for many reasons. One, because we had a deal. Two, I told him like, hey, it's going to take a few hours. He said that was fine. And he's the one that told us to leave. Like, had I known, like, shoot, I would have just stayed there and sat in the car. Like, if that's all it took. Like, I didn't realize the deal was whoever's sitting in the car gets the first dibs. Like, what in the world is that? And then, on top of all that, you know, you can make the argument, well, you know, there's not a whole lot of clean TJ Jeeps around. So, I get it that, you know, while we were making our deal, somebody came in to look at it, and they told that person the same thing. They were like, hey, you know, right now they're working out a deal. So you know, if you want to leave your name and number, if it falls through, we'll let you know or something. And I don't even think they gave their name and number. I think they just left. But, you know, it's like, so I get that it was a popular vehicle, but it's like, that's all the more reason to do right. Cause it's like, you know what's the worst that was going to happen if I was wrong and GE wouldn't? The thing is, and I didn't tell him this, but if it really came down to it, I would just pay cash for the car. Like, if it really came down to it, because she liked it that much that I would have just paid cash for it, then gone into GE with the title, and then they would have had no issue giving me a loan. I would have just taken whatever loan they could give me so I could have as much of my cash back as possible, and I would have moved on with my life. But it's like, they didn't even give us the option. And, you know, as I was saying, what's the worst that was going to happen if the deal fell through? Well, apparently they had a list of people that were willing to buy it on the spot. So it's like, it's not like it was a car that's been sitting on the lot for months and they're just trying to get rid of it. And, well, that deal may not go through, but this person's here with cash in hand. Let's just do it and be done with it. Like, this is a car that you knew was going to sell. So I'm not really sure what the motivation was. And so, like, I don't know. Like, if it was that salesman who got credit for the sale too, then it's like, well, you know, you wasted your time because you had one deal going, you know this car's going to go, you've got a list. So as a salesman, my thought would be focus on selling other cars, not selling the same car multiple times in one day. That's just not a good use of time. And if another salesman sold it from out of you, then it's like, well, as a salesman, you suck even more. So, like, I was so mad about that, like, I didn't sleep well that night. And, like, here's the thing, like, with me, you know, when it's my cars, I'm pretty good. You know, I've bought enough cars in my lifetime that I'm pretty good about not getting attached. If the deal goes through, great. If not, there will always be another one. I can be patient. But when it comes to buying one for the wife, you know, she's way more picky than I am and stuff. And, you know, it's one thing for, like I said, for me, but for her, it's like, you know, it's always harder for me to find the cars that she likes. So, like, I'm willing to pay a little bit more and things like that, and do things to get cars that I know she will like. So it, like, bothered me even more, because I think that's why I had trouble sleeping, because I was like, man, this is going to create so much work for me now. Which, whatever. I'm sure we'll end up finding something that'll be even better. You know, like I said, that's what I'm accustomed to dealing with in my own life, so I'm not that concerned about it. But at the same time, I'm just never had that type of situation. All right, I gotta run the pressure washer now and the leaf blower to dry it, so I'll put this off. All right, wrap up this video with a few things to kind of explain. I just ran the leaf blower. Got a lot of I do it mostly for like the wheels and the crevices and door jams and stuff like that. Try to get some of that out. So as I mentioned, this is this Jeep was meant to be hers. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that you know, 90s Jeeps, not exactly the most like safest car or economic, you know, it's just, they're super cool, super fun. And I gotta say, I was really actually pretty impressed with it. I had a pretty low bar going into it, so I was pretty impressed actually with how it handled. Unlike the new $50,000+ Jeep, which I get it that it was a Rubicon, and you know, but you know, after like watching Doug DeMira's video where he talks about how much better they are on the road than the JKs and stuff and everything, like I think I had a really high bar set for that it just wasn't going to hit. And for the TJ, I had such a low bar then, especially after not liking the new one, that it was like it exceeded that one. So I don't know. But, you know, if we end up getting her something like that, I think, because we've looked at other things, we also test drove a JK 2-door the other day, which, if I haven't shown that in the video yet, I'll show it like right now, because it's not a very long clip. And, you know, she actually liked that too. And it wasn't bad. I didn't drive it. You know, I've driven JK 2-doors. That's like the one Jeep that I actually have experience with is the JK 2-door. A buddy of mine used to have one. And, you know, when we go out and different things, like there's just plenty of times, like I drove one all the way from Columbus to Cincinnati one night. So yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of seat time on those, so I wasn't too worried about it. But she liked it too. So, but she didn't necessarily like it more or less. It was just like, it was fine, you know. And they wanted, gosh, freaking noise, man. They wanted like 26 for that one or something. But it's like, you know, honestly, I'd rather just spend 14, 15, 16 grand on a TJ. And I know that's a lot to spend on a 20-year-old plus Jeep, but here I am with a 20-year-old Mitsubishi. So, well, not quite 20, 15-year-old. I had a beautiful overcast day, and then suddenly the sun started poking, but the car really wasn't that dirty. Honestly, I probably wouldn't even be washing it today, but not having the FJ, I wanted an excuse to stay outside for a while with the pups. So yeah, I mean, I'm still looking at other cars for her. Still, obviously, the Evo is probably that, and the Jeep are the two front runners right now. But, you know, I mean, originally when I started shopping for her a replacement car, I originally started looking at F80 M3s, which, you know, get on Auto Trader or whatever, you can look up, you know, decent F80 M3s. You're looking at 40s to 50. You know, you get something like a TJ Jeep for 14 grand. Well, that leaves a lot of flexibility, so it would leave us a lot of money to be able to do some fun stuff with it. It'd also leave me more money to be able to do stuff with my car, which I'm going to do stuff with my car no matter what car she gets, but you know, it accelerated, I suppose. This car, today's Monday, you know, the Jeep is in the shop right now getting oil, tire rotation, and then I'm getting like quotes on all the things that are wrong with it. Depending on what that comes back, I may or may not fix some of it right now. And then this has an appointment Wednesday at the Mitsubishi dealership. Cincinnati has a Mitsubishi dealership again, which is nice. So I can go get the recall done. It's not the airbag. It's I think it's like a cross member corrosion issue. But I'm also gonna have them figure out what's wrong with the AC, because I need to get that fixed. It just sucks all the enjoyment out of the car not having that. And then, you know, the wife doesn't really want to ride in it much, which I don't blame her. But once that gets back, then probably going to make an appointment to have the oil leak fixed, which I'm not going to have Mitsubishi do that because it's just the oil pan seal that so the oil pan needs to be dropped and resealed. But to do that, you got to take the exhaust off and everything. So I think that'll be the perfect time to go ahead and get an exhaust for the car. You know, I've got the intake, I've got the boost controller, I have a fuel pump already, it's not installed. I just didn't really see the point in installing it right now. So really I just need to buy the exhaust and then get all that installed, and then I can tune. Now I want to get that like noise fixed too that I get at like typically highway speeds. It's like a weird kind of like, almost sounds like you're on the edge of the highway, like the little beater bars. But I'm pretty certain that has something to do with, because that happened right when I did the intake. So even though I've looked everywhere and can't figure it out, I think it has something to do with that. So I'm hoping that when I have it in at the shop, you know, I'm not going to say that to Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi's not going to have any clue. You know, I figured they could handle an AC unit and obviously the recall, but I'm not going to really trust them with anything else with the car. As far as other mods, really after that, I want to focus on the brakes and the suspension. You know, I'm not too concerned with power mods right now. The exhaust and the tune is less about power, more about drivability and making it fun. And then I want to get the windows tinted, re-tinted in most cases. The back window doesn't have a tint for some reason. I don't know why. It never has. That would probably help the AC too. So those are on the short block as far as things to get fixed. I do have the new badge, so I want to put that on. I just want to have like patience to do it. I don't know if I'm going to do it today. Probably not. You know, and I mean, there's a ton of things I want to get fixed on this car. but those are going to be the first and foremost. So really the only reason for the exhaust and the tune and all that is because it's going to be there being taken apart. I'm tired of dealing with the oil leak, and it's keeping me from pressure washing the driveway because I know I'm going to leak more oil. So the next thing, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to do brakes or suspension. Probably brakes. The brakes bother me more than the suspension. You know, the suspension, I mean, yeah, it's a little jerky, definitely needs some work, but I look at it this way, like, there could, you know, if the Focus ST sells, which, by the way, and I may actually even put this in earlier, the Focus ST is approved for Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bids site, so guys, check that out. If it's up already, I'll link it, or I'll put it on the screen to let you know. But it got approved Sunday or Saturday. Today's Monday. It's not up yet. I don't know how long it takes before it actually appears on the site, but everything is approved. Basically, they go back and forth on a process. You go with them, you know, they ask for more information. Potentially they ask for a few things, a couple specific photos, and then they had me review it. There was only like one little typo that I had them fix. And then, so now I'm just waiting for it to go live. I assume they'll email me. They've been pretty good about communicating that stuff. Now, I will say the one thing with the brakes, though, is, so the thing with Doug DeMuro's site is it's an auction site. So the car's up for a week. I really want it to sell within a week. It has a reserve, but it's a very, very aggressive reserve. So I think there's a very strong chance that car sells. Plus, there's some stuff in their fine print that mentions about, like, if it gets close to the reserve, they can go ahead and sell it, consider it met, and they just pay you the difference. So if you have a, you know, $5,000 reserve and the car gets up to $4,500, they may go ahead and say reserve met, and if it doesn't actually hit $5,000, then they'll just give you whatever the difference is. So you still get your money. Plus, they're giving, you know, $1,000 or $500 to the first 50 and second 50 group of people. I gotta think I'm in that group, but honestly, I don't know. And, you know, until it actually goes live on the website, I won't know. Right now, there's only like 9 or 10 cars up there, but I won't know until it goes up. And then my point of that was that theoretically we could be a 2-car household for a short bit, at which point that would kind of actually delay stuff on the Evo potentially. Just depends. You know, like, it wouldn't really delay the exhaust or anything because, you know, most of that stuff would just be like a day, maybe 2. But things like the brakes, you know, where they're gonna have to be taken off, rebuilt. They're probably gonna have to be sent out. They're gonna have to be repowder coated. So it's gonna take at least probably a week, and I think that's being very generous. To go a week with just one car, that would be a bit of a stretch. I mean, I have been looking for an excuse to do like a Toro rental, so maybe I could do something like that, but I don't want to like have to rely on that. So even with the wifey working at home, one car is, for that long could be, I mean, if we're gonna have one car, the FJ is definitely the one car to have. And speaking of the FJ, I think I wouldn't say that I'm done trying to sell it, but it's definitely a back burner project. Especially if the wife ends up getting a Jeep, then I may especially put it on the back burner and just wait for the new Bronco to come and see what that's about. It's a topic for a different video, I suppose. I haven't even put anything on the wheels. That's still Car Pro from last week. Granted, I only drove it a few times, but they're still pretty shiny. So I don't think I'm gonna put anything on the wheels. Yeah, and then, I don't know, I wanna get this wrapped, but as much as I wanna get it wrapped, there's just other things I'd rather spend money on right now. So as far as like the little marks and stuff like on the bumper and everything, I may get those touched up again. I don't know, I haven't decided. I mean, the car looks good from like 10 feet away. I get compliments on it all the time. It's an extremely clean Evo, which granted, given the competition, yeah, it is pretty clean, but it's definitely not what I want it to be. I had a lot of this patched up when I bought it, but then I kind of forgot where some of the spots were, and when I was polishing it last year, you know, honestly, I'm still new at polishing, so I'm learning. So I kind of took some of the touch-up paint off, but yeah, all right. That's gonna do it for this video. Appreciate you guys as always. Subscribe for Evo content, because like I said, either I'm buying another Evo but regardless, I'm modifying this one. We're gonna do some stuff with this one. Plus, don't tell the wifey, but you know, if she ends up buying a $14,000 Jeep instead of a $50,000 M3, I don't know where we'd park it, but it definitely leaves some money in the budget for maybe a nicer daily for us to kind of share or something. I don't know, because the Jeep, I don't think that would be like a daily thing, you know. But I don't know, maybe. I mean, I daily this, so. I mean, she's not really big on needing like luxury and stuff. But we'll see. Appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video, probably next week. Later, guys.